We're going to do some floral nail art today, which should be super fun. So here's what I'm using. This is the Smush brush that Nail Thought's made with Cocoas. It's a Cocoas brand, and it's kind of a little curved on the end, a little longer. Helps me kind of push down and pull up for a petal, but I am noticing it's a little bit stiff here. Like when I push it, it doesn't just bounce back. So this is brush cleaning gel, also from Cocoas. I'm just going to put some to the side here. It doesn't have photo inhibitors in it photo initiators, that's the word. Goodness, I said that backwards. So it doesn't cure into your brush, but it's going to help us work out some color. So I'm just wiggling it around in there. And what I'm going to do is grab a lint-free wipe. And what I like to do is typically kind of just squeeze that gel out. And you'll see here that some color came out with it. So I just didn't get it totally clean last time I used it. Typically when I'm doing an art project, I guess, or nail art, I won't fully clean the color out of a brush in between colors. But then at the end, I do like to clean it with a brush cleaning gel just to make sure it's staying flexible and all that. So now it's going to be able to move how we need it to. So I'm going to use this Cocoas Garden Party line. The thing about this is it's slightly sheer, and I kind of wanted that. I kind of want a watercolor look. I have a base gel down on my nails. This is a little bit unedited for all of you. I wanted to make it more real life. So I have next to me a little wipe. I'm going to put a little bit of brush cleaning gel up there if I need it in between colors, if I'm going from one to the other and it's not totally coming out. Hopefully you can't hear my dog in the background barking. Finding quiet time in my house these days is a little crazy. So I'm going to use a little bit of the purple, and I'm actually going to just kind of wipe my brush off and dip in quickly and get a little bit of the pink right next to the purple. So the idea is a little bit of purple, a little bit of pink, both on my brush. Okay, we're going to do kind of a half floral. So I'm going to place it down and spin it so it goes more narrow. And that time didn't have enough color, so I went back for more. So I spun it. Let's get in a little bit closer here. I'm going to lay it down, make sure I get some good color product, I guess, distribution there at the tip. And then I twist my brush and lift my pressure up so that it can thin out towards the center. So we're working from the outside of the floral or flower into the center. Again, I wanted a little more product. I'm just learning this product. It just released too, so it's kind of fun here. Now, I'm going to leave it as a half flower. The other ones I've kind of played with full. I like the dimension using two different colors at once has, so I'm going to go ahead and cure that. And then we're going to go in here and play with some outlining. So I'm grabbing bluey white from Cocoas. You could use a white art gel. You could use, whatever you love to use for white outline. And I switched to the detail brush also from Cocoas with Nail Thought. So I'm going to trace the petals that I want sitting towards the front or not behind other petals first. So I'm just using a really light touch, and I'm also kind of letting it be imperfect. This seems to be something people get caught up on, being perfect. It can be a little sketchy, but you just kind of want to trace around. So see how those two petals now are sitting on top of the middle petal, and then I'll trace the middle petal. Goodness, I need to change my angle to get that little curve, make it a little thicker there. So we can play now with our outlines to give some more movement to our floral. So let me finish this side and then connect it so it's complete. You can go ahead and cure it if you want, but what I'm going to do is go up and down. So I'm basically creating a little lip. So now you see how that petal looks like the very tip is curling up towards us, gives it some movement to it. So I cured that, and all I'm doing here, I guess I should have zoomed in a little bit, is just pulling a couple little faint lines from the center down the petals, just to give a little bit of that veining that some of the petals have. I'll cure that. Okay, I like how that looks on that ring finger, has some movement, has some dimension. So I'm going to do some greenery now. So I'm imagining the stem kind of coming up. One trick I learned in a cool class was taking some of the color you use in your floral, like pink here, and actually mixing it in with your base green for your color, which you think is going to look muddy, but it actually creates a real cohesive look. So I rolled my brush there just to get a little thin amount on there, and I'm just going to kind of pull up. You want some movement instead of like a straight stem. We want it moving across the nail. And now we're going to get into a little bit of fun with like our leafing and creating some real vibrant dimensions. So I mix a little bit more green into it with it there, and we're going to add it to it. Let's get in a little bit closer. My trick with leaves is don't connect them to the stem yet, especially if the stem is an uncured gel, because what happens is it tends to bleed and we end up with a blob. So stay just a little bit away and don't connect it. And as it sits and as you play, and the mind will connect it so that it still is a defined leaf, but it's not blobby. And then I'm going to make a little connection here from the stem to the petal. I just kind of created a little saucer shape, think like a plate. Okay, I'm going to take out the more vibrant green, and I got to play with this a little bit. I think I want to create the dimension. So you could obviously leave it like this. It's awesome. But I tend to find, let me zoom in. If I then take different versions of that same color, right? So this was our base color, and I'm just tracing one side of those leaves. And then I'm going to kind of trace maybe the base a little bit, maybe along this a little. I'm not covering it entirely. I'm usually going on one side. And then maybe I'm going to add, oh, this stem broke off over here so that the floral's like moving off the nail. So it has movement on the nail, and then it's also moving off the nail. All right, a little bit more green. Now here's what trips people out. I love putting blues into my floral looks. I feel like people don't realize you actually do see a lot of blues, especially in your greens. So I'm going to take it, it's going to deepen a little bit, kind of back here by the root a little, just a little bit of blue in there. And again, this works really well because this color line from Cocoist has a little bit of sheer to it. So it kind of has a watercolor effect. And anywhere I want it just a little deeper, I do that. Now, anywhere I want a little brighter, I'm going to take in a little blob of yellow. I'm wiping off the excess off my brush. And I'm just going to kind of blend that out. Again, it's a little sheer, so it's just going to give us some highlight to our green and blend really nicely like a watercolor. Okay, let's do a little bit of blue in with the green over here. I'm thinking we need to fill the space, so I just want you to see how I'm mixing and playing with my colors. It's a little bit more blue. I kind of want it a little greener but brighter, so I just took yellow into it because yellow and blue make green, but this way it'll be a little more vibrant. And I want to play with something up in this left corner. I think either leafing or actually, what if we did like 2 buds of flowers coming down? So I'll make a little kind of saucer connector there. Let's do one more stem with a little saucer for the buds. So this will be basically like a baby flower. I had too much product, so I'm wiping that off so I can blend this out into the shape I need. There we go. Yeah, that'll give us something up in that corner interesting. All right, I just wiped my brush off on a dry lint-free wipe so that I could switch to like the pinks and the purples, because it would not have worked to just leave green on my brush. I would have ended up with mud or just not as much dimension. So I kind of mixed some of the pink and purple, and I'm just going to do some dots. Almost like instead of trying to do like a circle or something like that, we're just going to create a little movement in here, because they're just little suggestions of flowers. They're just babies. They're just starting. They haven't bloomed out. They're just kind of there. Little pink, little purple, so there's some dimension. I'm going to cure that quickly. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this yellowy green and just kind of retrace for dimension on the stem. Ooh, even a touch of the orange, because I have orange on the other fingers, just to bring kind of that dimension to the stem. Little blue. There we go. So you can see it's a lot like a watercolor effect, because it's not just green. It's like different greens within it. And that's how we do it with yellows and blues. I'm going to pull a little bit of brightening yellow and dot it over the little buds to brighten them up. And then instead of tracing the buds, I'm going to do little dots of highlight. So it's just like where the little petals are peeking out. There may be, let me get in here, a little bit highlighted with the white. Let's see. Maybe down here on the little saucer connection, I'll do a couple little lines to highlight that connection here too. Truth be known, I am making this up as I go. This is part of my process of getting ready for clients, perfecting skills and all that. Like, I'm taking my time here. By the way, we're going to trace the stem. I decided we need to highlight it just lightly, so that's what we're going to do here. If you ever have too much product on your brush, wipe it down. You just want a little bit on the tip of your brush as you move through here. Anyway, as I was saying, we might be taking 15, 20 minutes figuring out this design right now just on this one finger. It doesn't include all the other floral going on my other fingers. But if my client sees it and loves it, I can easily duplicate it at a much faster rate because I've already kind of sorted through and done the creation process ahead of time. You can't always have that luxury, but anytime you know a season's coming at you, like I know spring's coming at us, so I'm trying to help you all nail techs get prepped for this. If you can take a minute and play with a look, maybe a look that you love and want to do on people, so you're going to wear it. I love that, by the way, so I'm going to cure it. Then take that time, and then you can duplicate it much faster. All right, little highlight on the petals here to pull in a little bit of yellow. I'm loving that this color is like pigmented but slightly sheer, because look how I can easily blend into highlights and it just melts over it. I'm going to take some of that yellow off. It was a little bit too much. Used too much. There we go. Now I can kind of blend it through and give that much more of an interesting look to this floral. And if I hadn't taken the time to play with this, then I wouldn't know to do that on a client. And now I'm already practiced for it. So I'm going to use the Cocoas Ultra Glossy. I really like this Ultra Glossy No Wipe because I can press it down the center and side, and then I can just float it easy. And it really evens out my art. Like, gives me a beautiful, smooth finish and line of light. So let me make sure I've got all my edges covered. Oh, I had a fuzzy there. Just wipe it down on the counter when that happens. Checking to make sure that fuzzy's gone. There we go. And we're going to pull through the center. And then I will flip it. When I have layers of art like this, if you don't want it to be bumpy, you've got to let your top coat do the work for you. So I'm going to close that, finish curing that hand while you see my other hand that needs some love on it. I've already started leveling down a couple of them, but I think I'm going to play with these. Maybe do some watercolor brush strokes on them, or I actually thought about doing some cool fruit. That's the base I have on them right now. So there's the finished look. I love it. I hope this was helpful. Take the time to practice some things like this as the season's coming. I'm Hillary Dawn Herrera, and I am here as your nail fairy godmother, as many call me, and I'm cheering you on.